was dating a number of different girls while I was in college. I was working for a radio station that was sort of glamorous. I did On the Air.
Which year would this be?
This would have, I started with a radio station in 1958, fall of 58, and worked for them for a couple of years until late 1960, early in 61. The radio station hired a news director whose gimmick was basically to call everybody a communist and to get ratings. And I got real uncomfortable with that. And so I resigned from the radio station. I finally one day realized that I just did not like being associated with that. So I went to the station owner and said, I'm not going to let you or ask you to choose between the news director and me. I'd like to hand in my resignation and go back and concentrate on college, which was a lie because I needed the money to go to college, but I just didn't like it. And he was very nice, wrote me a wonderful letter of recommendation, thanked me for not, making a big issue out of it. And then I got a job on campus for the speech and hearing clinic, which was great fun, but that's another story. Anyway, I was dating a number of different girls, none of them particularly seriously, and one girl more than others. Let's see, that was maybe 60, so it was my sophomore year in college and her senior year in high school. And she invited me to go to the senior prom, be her date for the senior prom. I had my own tuxedo, why not? I joined Carol, and we ended up at a friend's house. It was going to be, everybody stay up all night, and then we'll cook breakfast and watch the dawn come in. Very high school thing in the 50s. And I realized that I was interested in this redhead whose house we were at. And then 4th of July, that year, 4th of July 1960, I was broadcasting the Upper Arlington 4th of July parade for the radio station, and had set up so that Carol and I and Bobby and the guy she was dating would get together after the parade and have a cookout at my apartment. And that was interesting and fun, and did steaks and so on. And then I tried to do crepe Suzettes. You know what crepe Suzettes are?
No.
They're boozy pancakes that you flame, basically. A crepe is a French, very thin pancake. It's made with water, not with milk. And you flame you make it, you add a stuffing, you roll it, and then you pour brandy over it, and you set the brandy on fire, and it's very nice. I had never made crepes before, and kept adding brandy and not getting it to flame because it turned out I didn't have it hot enough, and eventually I sort of got it to flame. But anyway, I said, I really want to get to know this girl better. And so I called her up, and she said no, she wouldn't go out with me. And I thought, okay. It's not the first time I've been put down. Fine. Damn, I wanted to get to know her better, though. There was just something about her. And called again, and she said, look, as long as you're dating Carol, I won't go out with you. And I said, but I'm dating a bunch of girls. She said, yes, but Carol's my best friend, and she's quite serious about you, and I'm not going to get in the way. And so I had to figure out, okay, just how serious was I about Carol? And as I said, she was one of several. I wasn't that much, and I really wanted to get to know Bobby, so I broke up with Carol. Ended up convincing Bobby's mother, father, and grandmother that I was going to marry Bobby before I ever convinced her. It took a while, but we had 42 years together, which last thing she said to me was, well, it's been a pretty good run. And it was. We had a lot in common. We were both Navy brats during the end of World War II. Our dads were both in the Navy, and we moved around a lot, of course, separately, but had all of the things that, you know, being the new kid is it either kills you or you become very self-reliant. And had a number of common interests. She was a fine art major. Her original degree was in art history. Then came to Washington and discovered that with a bachelor's in art history, she really couldn't get a job because there were all of these military wives and diplomatic corps wives that had masters and doctorates in art history working for the museums and the galleries. And a friend of ours at Spring Hill Lake, a couple, they finally had the opportunity to take a honeymoon, which they had not had when they got married. But Paula needed somebody to take over her class. And this was one of those times when they didn't have a large pool of substitutes. Teachers were in somewhat short supply, to put it mildly. And anybody with a college degree, you know, they figured, well, she's going to be gone for 10 days or 2 weeks, whatever it was. So she went in the principal. The principal said, sure, if you need help. This was a 2-3 combination. And she took over Paula's class for 2 weeks, and I kicked her out the door every morning because she kept saying, but I'm not a teacher. I don't know. I said, you're the only teacher they've got. Go do what you can. Come on, how much do you need to do with second and third graders, right? You know, be able to realize when they need to go to the bathroom and point them there. And when Paula came back, the principal called her and said, look, I have another combination class that will be going to a different school next year. I'd like to keep them together. I don't have any teachers. Would you take the job for the balance of the semester? And she did. Again, not really sure what she was doing, but did it, found that she had a talent for it, got by with some help from her friends. The class the next year went off to another school, and they had their teachers, but she was in the system, and a new school was opening up in Laurel that was looking for teachers. And she went and interviewed with the principal, and the principal said, well, yeah, I'll gamble on you, but you're going to be expected to go get an education degree. And she said, I think this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. That's fine. So she started teaching a 4th grade class. Her first class, she had 48 kids in a tempo.
Tempo?
Temporary. One of those trailers. The kids were practically sitting on each other's shoulders until the new school got built. The temporaries were behind another school, but there was, I think, better part of the first semester was all of these kids jammed into the temporary. Surprisingly enough, probably one of the best classes she ever had. I'm still in contact with some of the people from that first class, and they stayed in contact all through high school and college and even now. So that's eventually she got a degree in her bachelor's in elementary education. which meant that she was actually certified to teach K through 12 in Maryland, which we found very interesting. So when Prince George's County decided to go to a middle school, they needed either elementary school teachers or high school teachers to go in to do the middle school, but the high school teachers were, for the most part, only certified in a single subject, where the elementary school teachers had to be certified in a variety of different subjects. And so Bobby went to middle school and taught, she taught 37 years. She was 13 at Montpelier, so she was 24 years at Buck Lodge, pretty much teaching whatever. She decided not to go the bachelor's, master's, PhD route. Prince George's County had a program, and I think still does, where you could go bachelor's, bachelor's plus 15, bachelor's plus 30, bachelor's plus 45, and bachelor's plus 60 would be the equivalent of a PhD, the bachelor's plus 60. So she got the raises that she would get, but she decided to take courses that would be useful. So at one point she was known as the sex and drug and rock and roll teacher, because she had taken the courses to teach sex education, to teach drug education, and at that particular time we were managing a teenage rock band. So she did that, and anyway, she taught for 37 years. She wanted to go for 40, didn't quite make it, and loved it. She really did. How she managed to put up with 7th graders all those years, I have no idea, because, you know, that can be a really difficult age. And she deliberately taught in a school where something like 70% of the kids were on free or reduced lunch, and as much, in some years, as many as 80% of the kids were on English as a second language. But that's what she liked to do. So that's how I met my wife, and sort of that's who she was. She still loved art, the art history. Anytime we traveled in Europe, we would head for the nearest castle or museum or whatever, and it was an education going through that with her and hearing her comments about things. She costumed until somebody who liked to create chaos made things uncomfortable, and she just said, forget it, and started quilting. And she was an award-winning quilter. So she could get her creativity out, and it's fine. So now you know about how I met my wife,